That's a pot of wax and paraffin, and it's cold and I've got to get it hot. So I'm just gonna switch this up a bit. I'll put it up to about 4, get it hot. I'll stick it right up the top and heat that up, and I mustn't forget it. It's sitting underneath a bit of a hood, and then there's an inline fan above that, and that's going out to atmosphere, so it's going out through the wall there, and I use that to decorate in a manner I always have done, really. And this is a stoneware jug. Actually, it's a stoneware clay. It's not stoneware at all. But I made it about 40 years ago, and I never got around to glazing it, but I did decorate it. So what I'd done was I had made a blue slip. I wax resisted the pot in its green state, and then dipped it into the blue slip, and the wax will retreat. The slip will retreat from where it's been waxed. I'll show you that in a little while when we've melted the pot. Now, I just did the same thing on the handle and on the other side, and stayed in that state for about 35 years until I started the pottery up again. And I'm not doing a lot of that now, but I do a little bit. Most of the decoration in this pottery is done by Charlotte, but I'm doing these mugs here, which I did a previous video on. So most of the mugs I've given to Charlotte to decorate, but I'm just going to do these in wax resist because I'm playing around with some different greens, and the greens I've got here, the one that I want to use is this one. And what I've done with that is I've put a slip on a terracotta tile and fired it, and then I've put a green glaze over the top of it. I've done the same thing with this, but I've put a slightly aquamarine-ish, sort of turquoise-ish sort of glaze over the top of the same slip. It's this slip. This is the colour of the background slip, and I've got it in a bucket over here. Doesn't look anything like it, does it? I mean, slips never do. You know, most of our slips are black because they're copper and cobalt based, and they're from black copper oxide, black metal oxides, and so when you mix them in with ball clay, you can't really see the difference between them. So you have to mark your buckets pretty carefully. Otherwise, what ends up being blue and green might not be what you had in mind initially. So here's one that I've already done, and what I tend to do is put them on a banding wheel, and I've got a bat on top of the banding wheel, same material, all tempered hardboard, and I put some pins on that so that when I spin the bat, everything stays central, and then I can place the pot on top of it, and I can spin a line on it and so on, and these have just been painted on with a brush, and when you're painting in hot wax, you have to choose a brush that's, yeah, well, it don't want to show us that, does it? You've got to choose a brush that isn't made of man-made fibres, you know, plastic-based fibres, or they just melt in the pot. Now here we go, look. Thanks for reminding me. But I've got to switch this right down now because it's beginning to smoke. So switch it down to that little black mark which I've made, I've arrived at through experience, and I got a 2-stage fan on that, and I'm going to push it just to the back a little bit and just let that simmer down for a while before I wax resist that. Anyway, can't do it right now because if you look at this, I don't know if you can see it clearly. I don't know why this doesn't want to come into focus. Nearly. Well, I don't know whether you can see it, but I'm trying to get it a bit closer. It's slightly lumpy. The slip is lumpy. You might be able to see it. Anyway. Whoa, I did get that hot, didn't I? Right. I'm just going to remove that from there. I'll put this on the bench so I've got 2 hands. And I've usually got some sort of, I got a rather larger one of these kiln setters, and I'll just put it on top of that. Yep, that'll do. Yeah, that's good. That's taking it away. Anyway, that'll settle down in a minute, and in the meantime I want to show you what I've got to do with the slip. And so I'm just going to move the camera around here, show you the slip, and I've already done that, haven't I? It's a funny colour because it's got wood ash in it, and it started off being a buff slip, and I think it might have a bit of manganese dioxide in it. I say I think because I made it such a long time ago. I didn't really like it very much, and I modified it a bit to take get it a bit greener, so it gave us a sort of muted green colour that people seem to like, and also it makes a really good background colour for us when we're painting tiles. Now what I've got to do is I've got to mix that up, and then I've got to sieve it. So I'll just show you a couple of things that we do to facilitate that. So I'm going to put this down on the ground there, and I've got a nice stirring stick here which I've already employed to good use. So I'll stick that in the sink, and I'm going to put one of these mixers in. Now most potteries have got one of these. It's sort of got an impeller at the bottom of it and a pretty heavy duty electric motor on the top of it, and it's quite a quiet machine. Wrong machine. Right machine. Anyway, you get the idea, and if you haven't got one of these, you can always use one of these, and this will go, this has got a hex shaft on it, so it'll go in a 1/2 inch chuck on an electric drill, If you've got a fairly substantial drill, doesn't matter if it's mains or cordless, as long as it's reasonable quality. Because I think sometimes when you start mixing stuff up in the pottery, it's a bit gloopy and it's a bit thick, and you've got to be a little careful about what you're using to mix it up with. It's quite capable of burning a drill out, and so you want something of a reasonable size in order to do that. If you haven't got one of these, again, one of these machines here, when I've got quite heavy duty jobs to do, I use one of these, which is a builder's tool really. So this is actually designed to mix up plasters. I haven't used it for a while, and could do with a good clean. And so it's been used on a building site, so it's not going to find anything in the pottery too hard to cope with. So that's quite a useful tool. And these aren't expensive either. They're surprisingly affordable and available from places like Screwfix and Toolstation and all that sort of. Obviously you can get them online more or less wherever you are, because we're all buying the same stuff now. So there's our pottery mixer, and that's usually, I usually use that to whisk the glaze up, because glaze is terrible at separating in the buckets, and you end up with something like a really hard cheese in the bottom of it if it's been there for a long time, and you've virtually got to take the water off it and cut it all up with a knife and break it up a bit and start again with it. Sometimes it can be a real pain, and the slip doesn't really do that too badly. Now I can put that over here. I don't need it. Won't need that again until I start glazing, so I'll just leave it over there. Now what I've got to do with this now is I've got to transfer this through this. Now I've got a vibrating sieve here. You can buy sieves that look a bit kitchen-like with a handle on the top, and you pour stuff into a sort of a metal funnel and sieve it through with a rotating brush by hand. I mean, I think that works pretty well, but most potters have got one of these, and what goes into them is a sieve like this with a phosphor bronze mesh in it, and this one's 100, and so it's finer than this one, which is 80. Now, what am I going to put this through? I suspect I've got 100 in there really. It's a little bit safer, but with the wood ash I might have particles in that glaze. Now wood ash is a funny thing to be putting in an earthenware. I used to use it in stoneware a lot, because actually wood ash will make a glaze on its own, but you know, you'd have to do quite a lot of experimenting to get it where you wanted it, and you'd have to be firing it at a pretty high temperature, and you get very, very mixed results with it. So it's something that stoneware potters like to get into, but you know, I did, as I say, I did use one, and combined with an iron glaze I was using, it produced quite a nice blue in where it pooled in the bottom of pots, but mostly it was sort of greenish on the outside of it. It's not unpleasant, you know, but you have to add other things into stoneware glazes. It's a bit of a chemistry exercise, really. So what I'm going to do here is that's a bit. I might be able to pour it by hand. Let's have a look and see. I'm going to put it on. Well, that's gone through 100 mesh. And shake off whatever's on the bottom of it, and make sure you can see the result. So that's what's left behind in the sieve, and there's a lot of sort of carbonish looking bits, which I guess are out of the wood ash. So that should get rid of that problem of lumpiness on the slip on the pots, and I'm just gonna give that a go in the next video. So we've really prepared that now, I think, adequately. So I got a nice pot of clean slip down there, and I've got an empty one to pour it back into, but I'll have to just sluice that one out, and so I'll do that in a minute, and the slip will then be ready for use, and I'll see how this looks. Yep, that's simmered down a little bit now, so that'll be ready for use, and we can get the remaining 5 mugs of the set wax resisted and slipped. Now, once they've been wax resisted, like this one here, they'll go into a bisque firing, and they'll come out of the bisque firing ready for glazing. We don't do once fired stuff anymore. I have done it, but yeah, I think once was enough for me, to be honest, and so I prefer really to bisque the stuff. So there are those little soldiers waiting to be wax resisted, and I'll come back to that in the next video.